Hello. Welcome to my channel. The first video on my channel, by the way. Oh wait, I shouldn't have this in. My bad. Welcome to the first video on my channel. This is really frustrating because I just filmed this entire video and then my camera roll was like, you don't have enough storage. If that's when I ran out of storage, why couldn't I have just kept that footage up until that point? It doesn't matter, but it matters to me. Disregard the little temporary tattoo I have on my face. I found it and I felt like I needed to have it on my face. Anyways, because this is my first video, I feel like before I just jump into it, I should like introduce it, I guess. But if you're completely uninterested in that, I get it. Skip to whatever timestamp is on the screen here, then you'll be where you need to be. Now that it's just me and you, welcome here. This channel will be mainly for book reviews. I have always loved watching them. I've always loved books. And I really want to just be a part of that community. I want to like put myself out there. I found myself kind of avoiding things that I've really wanted to do for a long time. And I've decided, no, I'm going to make it right now. And I am, and I'm really happy about it. And I'm happy that I have like this banger as my first book. Yeah, I think Adam Silvera should honestly sponsor me for this. That wasn't that much of an intro. I feel like I just had to say something. I want to be like motivated enough to like continue this, like make more of these. I have a few books that I want to review. I think that'll keep me enticed to make more. I'm glad that we've gotten that out of the way. Okay, great. I have a little note thing here of like things to say and I wrote, hello bookworms. I'm gonna veto that. It's corny and I'm not gonna say it. Now there are two types of people that could be watching this right now. Either A, people who just read the book and want to hear other people's opinions, or B, people who haven't read the book and want to know if I would recommend it. So if you plead the second, I'll make this quick for you. I do recommend it. I'll just put it out there that it's a tough read, okay? It like put me through a lot of emotions I wasn't expecting. The first time I read it, I was almost in like a depression for like a week after. I've also known people who have been completely unfazed. So take that as you will. Read it or don't read it. It's all up to you. That's that, I guess. If you still want to watch this, go ahead. I'll try to avoid spoilers. Can't promise that, honestly. It's a great read. I would highly recommend it. So now let's get into the book. One thing I really like about it, one being that it's Adam Silvera. I love Adam Silvera. His other books, What If It's Us is a great book. More Happy Than Not is good. I think he has a really unique way of writing. I just eat it up every time, bro. Another thing I really like about this book, the front cover here says, for those who need a reminder to make every day count. And I think that's really nicely put because this book is very much a book-shaped reminder and it's very strong in that message to like make every day count. I think that was kind of his motivation to write it. I'll go ahead and I'll read the back for you guys because I don't feel like coming up with a summary on my own. On September 5th, a little after midnight, Death Cast calls Mateo Torres and Rufus Emeterio, to deliver some bad news. They're going to die in less than 24 hours. Mateo and Rufus are total strangers, but for different reasons, they're both looking to make a new friend on their end day. The good news is there's an app for that. It's called Last Friend, and through it, Rufus and Mateo meet up for one final adventure to live a lifetime in a single day. Yeah, it's a lot to read. I wasn't expecting that the first time I read it. As long as you go into it knowing that, then you should be fine. It's really up for interpretation. It's got really mixed opinions. For one, it was the New York Times bestseller for a really long time, which is insane. And like, congrats to Adam because that's crazy. But I've also talked to people who have like really disliked this book. The main reason I've heard is that they don't like the pacing, which is kind of weird because I'm like a really big stickler for pacing, but I actually really like the pacing of this book. It's this long, but it all takes place in one day. But the way that it's written and the way that there's like, it's like put together actually makes up for that and makes it, oh my god, just everything is going wrong right now. The book is like super, it's emotional, and you can tell that while Adam was writing it, he was also feeling he was going through some stuff. I would say I watched interviews of him. I've done my homework, and he's talked about like the emotions that he went through and like how he was in a dark place whenever he wrote this book. I don't think I could write this on my worst days, honestly. It's such a roller coaster of emotions to read that it's almost like painful. I think the book really picks up around page 83, I would say, which is the second part of the book. I think it really starts getting into their friendship more, which I really enjoyed myself. And from that point on, it's just like heartbreak after heartbreak. It's so hard. Rufus's character is like, it's very, I don't want to say like macho, but like he'd be more macho than Mateo. He's been through a lot. He had to watch his parents die when their car went off the Hudson River. and he was the only one that survived. His mom, his dad, and his sister all died, which is really rough for him, and he ended up in foster care, where he was with his friends, the Plutos. It was only 3 months before the book takes place. Fresh wounds, you know what I mean? He meets up with Mateo, whose dad is in a coma, and won't get to see him before he wakes up, because when the father eventually wakes up, if he wakes up, I guess, his son will be dead, and his wife is also dead, so that's
double homicide.
they both just got rough storylines going for them right now, okay? Essentially, the whole book is just a punch in the gut. It broke my heart, bro. Adam really has a way with words in this book. The cover art portrays it so well. The sky, the stars. I'm totally planning to annotate this entire book. He also, something that he does that's really interesting to me is the way that he does chapters from different characters, side characters' point of views throughout the story. I would have never thought of that. It's so good. They all tie in together. The whole book just makes sense. There's never an unanswered question. There's lots of times where oh my god, this is the end, this is where they die. But it just keeps on going, and it's really well done. It's a play with time. They're just trying to make time. And unfortunately for one of them, they got in some legal trouble right before Rufus. There's a lot going on at all times. It's written in a way that makes you feel you're in a race for time. It's hard to disconnect yourself from the book. I had a hard time reminding myself almost it's just a book and that I'm not gonna die. But it was rough, man. That's what I said from the beginning. It's tough. Big spoilers here. If you don't want to watch this, skip here, because I'm gonna say the end of the book. The ending of the book was devastating, because the whole time you're led to believe that Rufus isn't going to kill himself. He says it multiple times. I'm not going to kill myself. And then he does. And it's one of those things where you're it's not Mateo's fault, but if they hadn't met, then he wouldn't have died. It's rough. And then you go even farther back, and there's a chapter with the girl who did the graffiti that convinced Rufus to get the app and meet Mateo. And so if that girl hadn't done that graffiti, then Rufus wouldn't have found the app, and Rufus wouldn't have then found Mateo, and then wouldn't have fallen in love with Mateo, and then they wouldn't have watched Mateo die, and then he wouldn't have killed himself. So of course, no doubt, it's not Mateo's fault. But he even has that line in the book where Mateo says, "Do you ever think that if we hadn't met, we wouldn't have died?" And Rufus goes oh, well, we would have died no matter how we played it the day, which is true. But in the source of time, if they hadn't met, they wouldn't have died. Because even Mateo, let's be honest, he probably wouldn't have forgotten about the stove if he wasn't in that dazed end day state of mind. So you think Deathcast is probably the cause of a lot of deaths nowadays. It's just rough, okay? It's just rough. Okay, we're in a spoiler-free zone again. I just had to rant about that, and I'm sorry if you can't see that, because that was probably the most interesting I've been throughout this video. I'm having a hard time staying focused on camera right now. Also, I feel this video should come to an end at some point, but there are some moments where you're this isn't a teenager talking, you know what I mean? It's unrealistic. There's just moments. Sue me. But I'm not the writer of the book. If I had to rate this book out of 5 stars, I'd give 5.8 stars. There's about 0.2% of things that I would have changed. I think it was a great book. The dynamics, the way that everything tied in, the way that the two interact, the way that they die, is very good. And it gets my stamp of approval, I would say. I think that'll be the end of this video, but before I end it, I feel I'm obligated to say, Adam's actually writing the prequel now. He's done it. It's coming out in 2 months. I already have it on pre-order, and I will make a review for you guys when I'm done that book. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Okay, bye!